I'm just checking on my mobile device. I don't know if the stream's working. I have no idea. But let's try to sort it out. No, no. I have no idea what I'm doing. Apparently I'm live. Apparently. Oh, okay, so hold on. How is? What's the crack? Um, yeah, we're gonna paint some miniatures, and we'll give it a go. And yeah. So what I have here, if you haven't seen this already, is some water because it's absolutely fucking boiling out today. I think it's like 20 degrees Celsius. For those of you on the other side of the pond, I have no idea what that is in Fahrenheit. You have Google. Go knock yourself out. But yeah, for Ireland, that's warm. Like I don't know what the average temperature is. I would hazard a guess it's somewhere around the 12 degrees Celsius or less. So basically, what I'm doing here is it's not that I wanted it to be a how-to vid, but yeah, I'm setting up my wet palette. So sandwich container, and then we have just like kitchen towel, and then I have like parchment paper or baking paper. It's for like when you're doing cakes and stuff. So I'm basically just gonna cut this the size because I'm running late today, and we're just gonna size this sucker up and then put them in. So I probably want to cut it about there. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna cut this size, and hopefully we'll get some painting done. Yeah, today was busy enough. I went into the city centre to trade with one of the guys from a local gamer group. I was looking for. I'll cut off another bit. I was looking for a turret for a Baneblade because I know that quite a lot of guys build like Forge World Baneblade tanks, and generally what happens is you're left with the superstructure. In fact, yeah, I'll show you here. So I traded. Ugh, the sound of ruffling paper bags. Oh, and plastic. Jesus, you're gonna hate the fucking sound of this. Yeah, so basically, I went into the city centre today. Ugh, my apologies for the shit audio, but there you go. Ugh. Apparently, plastic bags on YouTube videos are one of the worst sounds ever. Oh man. Yeah. So there we go. Yeah, so what quite a lot of people do when they're building Baneblades is they'll build a variant. So if you got like one from Forge World and stuff, people tend not to use the main superstructure, and then so I was looking for this part, and then obviously like the main turret. So I think I have the main turret, and then I don't even know if I have the little turret. There's bits, shells. These are cool. These are good bits. I have a good few of these now. Shells would be great for ammo belts, really big ammo belts. So like for the likes of Stompies, or if you wanted to build like I don't know some giant Gatling cannon. But yeah, I'm basically just looking to get my hands on more turrets because I want to build a multi-turreted monstrosity for my WA UK meets that I go to. So yeah, bits. Plus I'm a hoarder, so you can always, super heavy. I think there's like a mega bolter in here and stuff, and there's like bits of everything. It's great. The demolisher cannon bits, and yeah, there should be like the main parts of a mega bolter there. Even if I only have this shroud part, I can I could make something cool. Do you know what that would be really good on? I've always thought that this looks like a pretty good scaled up storm bolter for the likes of a Gorkanaut or something. I've always had that idea where you could do a Gorkanaut up and get him to look like an old Terminator. You know the way like the old school Terminators used to have their arm pretty close up and they'd have their storm bolter. I was thinking you could do something like that for a Gorkanaut because the gun arm on a Gorkanaut is just, I think it looks rubbish. I think the Gorkanaut is due, needs to be hacked to pieces, to be honest with you, and reassembled. Now I don't think I have barrels here for that guy, but I've two Bane blades downstairs, and I've another turret set off of another Bane blade, so I should have. This is 4 main turrets, so I have a main turret gun here. Yeah, look, this gun will do. So I have like 4 main turrets now at this stage. So yeah, that should be yeah, bits for building, basically. So yeah, I went into the city centre today to get these bits, which I will now just push out of the bloody way, because yeah, my desk is a mess at the best of times. Yeah, so I went into the city centre to trade to do that, and while I was there, I was in the car park because I drove in, and so I was like, okay, I'll get the car washed, whatever. So the dude was like, yeah, no bother, it won't be finished until about 2 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, no bother. So I've like an hour and a half to kill. So while I was there, I went rummaging for stuff. So we'll have a look at the bag of loot. My little bag of loot. Where to start? Have you ever played Hanabi? It's a fun little card game. If you ever get the chance and you see it, I suggest you buy it. It's but this one's still wrapped in plastic, so. But it's yeah, it's fun. Look on YouTube for how to play Hanabi videos. It can't be. They wouldn't be that long. It's not hard. It's not difficult. It is. It's one of those games where it's easy to learn and hard to master. 2 to 6 players, ages 8 and up. So I bought Hanabi. I then went and I was like, oh yeah, I need new paintbrushes. So I bought the one of the Wargamers Most Wanted, the Army Painter paint set. So it's like a small dry brush, regimental, insane detail. I probably should have bought another bigger brush. Just because most of my brushes are knackered from either being stored badly or just being used, which is weird for me. And then I bought like yeah, stuff isn't cheap in Ireland. That says €13, but you can't really see it that well. Well, I have no idea about audio jacks, but I bought an audio jack so that I can hook my guitar up to my audio interface, because I want to change the music for my video intros. I'm not happy with it. I think the intros are too long. Because when I'm making a video, I just use XSplit, because I'm not exactly a master at video editing. So, you know, I'll just try and do whatever is easiest. I barely put any time towards the hobby as it is, because work has been crazy lately. That's why you have not seen many videos on my channel for the past couple of weeks. I was working crazy hours. What day is it today? Today is Sunday. So not this week, but last week I worked crazy hours, and then that tiredness sort of went into this week. So yeah, I do like long shifts and I did a lot of hours. So that's why, if you're wondering why there hasn't been a video, a lot of content. Plus, I don't really want to be just making videos for the sake of videos. I think too many YouTubers do that because of the YouTube algorithm. It's like if you want to show up on people's subscribers' feeds, you need to constantly be making like 3 videos a week at the same day, all the time. I don't see the point in making videos. Like, I'm sure other people love making videos and all that type of stuff, but I don't want to be cluttering my channel. I don't want to turn it into where it's like another job where you're just making videos for the sake of it for subscribers to view. It's like, in my eyes, your content degrades. Not that my content's great anyway, but you know what I mean. I don't want to be making videos for the sake of making videos just because that's the way YouTube is set up. So, yeah. like I said, as long as I have a few subscribers that are interactive, I'm happy enough with the channel. So let's have a look. See, where did I put my scar? Oh, there it is. So we'll pick up my skirmish case. Oh Jesus! It'd be helpful if I prepared all this earlier. With my skirmish case, I see I put all my paints and stuff. I'll move you out of the way. So yeah, this is my like 20 orc boys and my paints in here. I'll transport them. It's pretty handy. I think I was comparing the way I used to paint. The light isn't the May West. Is it too dark? Will I turn the light a bit? Is it gonna be oversaturated with light at that stage? Because I have a filter on here. Yeah, I'm getting oversaturated with light. I wonder how bad it is. It's not. It's not great. Anyway, not really supposed to be showing off. But look, this is what I like doing. I like putting them on the bigger bases. I think knobs look way big. I'm like super white now. I think the knobs look way bigger on the bigger bases. So this is the knob off of the unit that I'm currently painting. And that's out of focus. Well, it's focused to the table, but you know what I mean. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. So today I wanted to change the color of the straps. So I have them all as Mornfang brown on these guys, and I really don't like it. So we'll be going from Mornfang brown, and I'm going to be doing them Abaddon black, if I can say it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull out all of these guys here, put my paint pots back on, and then pull out loads of dudes. So that's what we're doing today in this stream. We are painting, and I really should have YouTube open on another. Ooh, don't knock it! Don't knock it! I literally have a C920 balancing off of the boom arm from my mic, and then I have the other C920 up there. They seem alright. I think there's a few things I want to do to get my hobby going. I think a large part of the problem that I have now, man, it is warm in here. I don't have the windows open because I know a lot of the neighbours are playing music, because everyone's out in their garden enjoying the sunshine. Yeah, so I don't have the windows open, so it's really warm. Sorry, open the can there. It's really fucking warm in here. I'm wearing shorts, like, that's, you know what I mean? I was wearing jeans today and I was just like, too much, way too much. So this is our mob of boys. I don't know if you want to be looking at my paint palette. I don't know. I haven't done a stream before. I've never painted live before. This is probably going to look absolutely terrible, but sure, fuck it. Yeah, I saw Steve-O did a video. Hey Steve-O, what's the crack, bud? How are you? Loving your vids, by the way. Loving the channel. You're doing some decent stuff. And you're a bastard. You keep doing videos that I keep thinking of doing, but because I'm too fucking lazy, I just don't bother. But I do like how when you're making videos, you're making me think about it, making videos on my own in like sort of a response, which is good, like, because it makes me think about orcs and different things in regards to the faction, because I'm apprehensively excited. So I'm excited, but I'm still a bit wary about the Orc Codex, about the prospects of the rules that we'll have. Audio probably sounded a bit bad there, but yeah, so I'm excited about the rules that we could have. I'd be interested to see what faction rules we'll have, but yeah, because I know quite a lot of people are putting off painting their orcs because they want to see what rules they get for their faction. But I'm like, I like blood axes, the blood axe clan. So if you don't know about orcs are split into different clans, and each clan has its own sort of traits and tactics and sort of behaviors. So you have like the Goths, which are generally painted in like black and white, and they tend to be like tactically they do like big mobs of boys. They're always like hordes of boys. the Goths. That's their thing. Gazgul's a Goth, so yeah, the Goths are generally fucking mouth's going dry already. The Goths are usually like mobs of boys, and they're supposed to be like strong and stuff like that. So I could see. I don't know. Maybe they'd get bonuses to their boys units or something like that. Who else do you have? You have Badmilns, which are the yellow gits, which are Badmilns tend to be like the flashiest orcs. So they always the old fluff, they used to grow their teeth a lot quicker. So the whole thing with orcs is they use the old chompers as currency. So the whole thing would be you defeat an orc, you punch the teeth out of his head, and take them, and that's your currency. The whole thing with Badmilns is they're supposed to grow them faster. I think they're supposed to grow teeth faster, hence they're richer. I think in the really old books there used to be squigs specifically to grow teeth, and then I think they're supposed to decay, so you won't be rich forever type of thing. So you'd sell your currency, or use your currency, use your teeth. Yeah. So Badmilns always have like the best gear, the most expensive stuff. Like typically they'd have a lot of Meganobs, flash gits. Probably they'd have a good few flash gits. So Badmilns are like super swanky dudes. Goths have lots of boys that are tough and pretty strong. Deaf Skulls, color scheme is generally blue. They're thieving gits who steal everything. They like Daka as well, but they're not as ostentatious or flashy as Badmilns. Like Badmilns go out of the way to sort of show off and have like pimped out stuff, whereas Deaf Skulls just like getting lots of loot, that type of stuff from what I gather. Snake bites are generally the more feral type of orcs. I think a lot of people see them as like backwards and stuff. But like snake bites, they'll have a lot of likes of like squigots and gargantuan squigots. They're a lot more feral. Doesn't mean they're any more backwards or dumb or anything. They're just their color scheme tends to have a lot more muted colors and browns, that type of thing. Yourself. I am checking out my Abaddon Black here and seeing how much is actually left in it. And what shall we do paintbrush wise? Fuck it, we'll open a new packet of brushes. So we're gonna use the regiment one, I think. Yeah, we'll use the regiment one. And we'll have a look. Let's see if I don't sweat to death in this fucking pit, this heat. Jesus. See, yeah, basically in Ireland, that's where I'm from, if you haven't already gathered, we tend to insulate our houses because it's usually like drab and miserable. And I've gone off on a bit of a segue. I haven't finished talking about orc clans. I'll get back to that in a second. Basically in Ireland, we're used to like wet, humid, cold weather. It's generally cold. So when we get really warm temperatures, our houses aren't really designed for it. Like obviously people with expensive houses have like built-in air conditioning, ambient temperature, the floor warms and all that type. Not the neck of the woods I'm from. So we're not really used to our houses aren't built for warm temperatures, so it's we keep it insulated, and we try to keep the heat in as much as possible, because normally that's what the problem is. It's Jesus, I'll be here for a year and a day getting all this paint out. Our general problem tends to be heat loss and trying to retain it, as opposed to, oh my god, it's too fucking warm. Hence the window being closed, hence this place slowly turning into a sauna because I don't want too much noise pollution. And to be quite honest, we'll see what the story is with the old stream. This is my first proper stream, which was badly thought out, or badly organised, should I say, because I went into town, as I said earlier. I went into the city centre and ended up staying there a lot longer than I wanted to, and then I got stuck in traffic because everyone and their bloody cousin is going to either the beach or a park or I don't know, somewhere. Everyone's out doing something that isn't painting miniatures. They're being social. Antisocial activities. I was only actually thinking about that antisocial activities. The whole wargaming. You know, I think people who don't understand what wargaming is tend to think that it's antisocial, but then it's like chess or any other game that matter where it's like you can't. Well, feasibly you could play by yourself, play the game against yourself, but it would be boring as fuck. Like, you know, it's not really. It's not really designed for that. So it's not a. I don't really see it as an antisocial behavior. I find that interesting, like MMORPG, like massive multiplayer online games. People see it as antisocial from the outside, looking in, but not when you're actually immersed in it. You'll understand that, you know, you can play some of these games online by yourself, but you sort of need to join groups to get the most out of it. So you need to interact with people. Then you'll end up talking to people on Discord and whatever. You'll have streams. Jesus wept. And you'll have a crack. So let's see what happens. And then my screensaver's gone on. Yeah, bastard. Because I haven't touched it in a while. There we go. Oh, fucking. I don't know why my hands are shaking, but maybe it's the nerves of painting live or something like that. This is really weird because the miniature is literally like a 1.5 feet away from me. So, yeah. I'm gonna have to do something different for future streams. It's like, it's doable. It's definitely doable. It's just weird when you're used to, like, normally when I'm painting miniatures, I have it like, yeah, like this far away, sort of. You know what I mean? Where I'm painting it like here, and not as opposed to paint it over here. You know, it's a bit odd. This is a little bit odd, but yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get rid of the Mornfang brown. What I'm gonna do is, Jesus, apart from shake ridiculously, I'm going to paint over the Mornfang brown and with Abaddon black. I did have, this is the annoying thing. I had these guys, I had all the leather straps. I had blacked out quite a lot again, and then I want to redo this. This is, what is that bloody paint? That is Screaming Skull. I did all their bandages and stuff. I don't know if you can see it that well because the lighting isn't great and such. But their bandages and stuff is like Screaming Skull, but I think I should do it the Camroy colour, is it? Oh, fucking... What's the bleeding paint? Ushapti Bone. That's the one. So what I should be doing is do Ushapti Bone. They're not that... Tone-wise, they're not too far off. Like this one's a little bit lighter. Maybe it's the colour saturation in the video. You won't really be... Like, they look pretty... They look pretty close. So I think I should be doing them again, Ushapti Bone. And then I'll do Screaming Skull. Paint-wise. But yes, orc clans. So which clans did I talk about? I talked about the Snakebites. I talked about the Goths. I talked about the Flashkits. There's the Evil Sons, who tend to be painted red. They tend to have a lot of bikers and trucks and stuff. They like to go fast. They like the thrill of the ride, you know, the speed, to have the wind blow through their hair. Their squig hair. Because in the old fluff, for orcs to have hair, there was a hairy squig. So it was like a strand. Think of like a tuft of hair. Think of like a woman's hair extensions, if you've ever seen one of them. And at the very end of it, there's this like double pincer biting squig. So what you do is, for orcs that have hair, my distinct lack of it, they'd have the squig and it would bite in, and then there would be the hair part of it. Do you get me? So the squig would suck off the orc's blood, would live off of the orc, and the orc would have hair. So yeah, so the wind blowing in your hair squig. I think they were also used, if you look into the old fluff, hair squigs were used as a means to stitch up old wounds. So like the hair squig would bite in, and then what they do is they twist the hair off of it, and then after it healed, it would fall off then, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff that, fluff-wise, that's just been lost over the years with orcs. It's interesting. It's interesting reading old books in regards to clans. So we've Death Skulls, we have Evil Sons, they like going fast and stuff. This is really hard for me to try and paint. Who else have we got? We have my clan, the Blood Axes. What did the Blood Axes do? Why did I pick Blood Axes is probably the more important question. I picked Blood Axes for two reasons. One, they use tactics more so than other orcs. Even doing such things as retreating, which other orcs see as, you know, unorky and disgraceful. They do like tactical retreats, so they do tactics because, yeah, that's just how I'd play my orcs. So they use tactics, they're pretty cunning, and they use camouflage. So I like camouflage, but they use like mismatched camouflage. I can't even talk. They use mismatched camouflage, so you get to try out different color schemes of camouflage, which takes longer to paint the miniatures, which is not really what you want with a horde army, but it should look cooler in my eyes. Not that any one clan is better than any other, but just I was drawn to them. It's like guys who collect Space Marines. You'll know. You'll look at Ultramarines. You'll look at Space Wolves. You'll look at Blood Angels, Dark Angels, or maybe you'll want to make your own sort of, you know, maybe Crimson Fists, Imperial Fists, you know, your first founding, your second founding, or you want to make your own faction. You'll know. You'll look at the chapter and you'll be either drawn to the fluff or the painting scheme or their specific miniatures. You know what I mean? You'll be drawn either by a combination of those things or maybe rules as well if you're influenced by that. You'll be drawn in by a combination of those things, and that will be the Space Marine chapter that you'll collect. It's the same for orcs. Not that there's any difference between them currently or in the previous few codexes. The only difference is between orc clans have been paint schemes and fluff. So fluff-wise, I like the Blood Axes, and paint scheme-wise, I like the Blood Axes. That's why I went for Blood Axes. Now, the thing with Blood Axes is they tend to trade with the Imperium. So they're more likely to have Imperial equipment. Their armies are more likely to be more structured than other orc armies. And, you know, you could end up, if you go into some of the old fluff, you'll actually see that you could have Imperial advisors and, you know, allies and stuff like that. Orcs, you know, would take over a system, leave a planet under their control, a human planet, and what would happen is they'd have to pay their tithes, they'd have to pay their taxes to the orcs in weapons and equipment, and the orcs wouldn't, you know, give a rat's. This whole perception that orcs just destroy everything for the sake of destroying everything, you know what I mean? It's not always been like that in the fluff, and I don't think Blood Axes would do that. Blood Axes would be more tactical about it and be happy enough to take payment in weapons off of planets. So that's what I see my WA doing. My WA Skarnir would rock up in system in their ships, and I do have some ships here. I'll actually show you them really quickly. So we'll see if the old I know my desk is a mess, but there I have some of my Battlefleet Gothic ships. So that's how I see it. I see that my faction isn't really tied to a planet. Mind you, orcs can carve out empires and whatever else. Yeah, bastard. I don't really see my orcs fluff-wise. I haven't written any fluff for them. I just have a sort of... Why did I move this fucking camera? You pillock. It's gonna do me fucking nut in now, watch. Oh, I see what's wrong. Hold on. I think it's this. The wire. Is it the wire? Is it the cable? Don't fucking touch it! Don't touch it! Yeah, man, it's way too warm. But look at the wet palette. That paint is still moist. It's sitting on the palette, what, like 10, 15 minutes now? The whole thing with this is that you'll have like kitchen roll or some form of you can use sponges. Retains the water, so there's water in underneath on the paper towel, and then the parchment paper lets the moisture come up and keep the paint moister for longer without diluting the paint. And so yeah, you can fart on and talk bollocks for a while and your paint is still wet. So this is still wet, I can still paint with it. Whereas if I was just using like a tile or a plate when I did when I was a kid, it would I've left my paintbrush in the water. No. I know you know why I have shit brushes. Yeah, so if you don't have one of these wet palettes already, it's supposed to be good for like blending and mixing paints, and it'll stay, basically your paint will stay moist for longer, but you'll also save on paints because you won't be constantly, you know, like you're taking paint out, painting with it, painting a bit more, oh shit, it's dry, taking it out, you know what I mean? You're wasting paint. Like the lid here, before I fixed it up, you'll end up with this sort of a lot of wastage that you end up with when you don't have the type of a wet palette. So even if you just want to save on your paint, that would kind of, this helps quite a lot, and it costs little or nothing to make. Like it's like a quid or two for a sealable sandwich pack, you know what I mean? Then there's what, paper roll, and then parchment paper, you know what I mean? You can make this for like 5 quid and you'll have enough resources between the kitchen paper and your roll of parchment paper, you know, probably indefinitely, you know. It's a good idea. This was brought to my attention by Tabletop Minions. Uncle Adam at Tabletop Minions. I saw his video for this ages ago. I've been subscribed to him for a long time. His content is good. The quality of it is really good. He brought this to my attention. I was like, oh, I'll try it out and I'll make one. And lo and behold, I've made it, and it's awesome because, you know, it keeps the paint moist and doesn't let it dry out on you. And that's what you want, man. That's exactly what you want. So yeah, we're trying to paint over. I know. I'll figure out a way to paint the miniatures and have the camera set up better so you can have a look at it as well. But basically, I'm just painting straps Abaddon black instead of the Mournfang brown. Now, why am I going over again? So this is the 3rd time I've painted the straps on these guys. And why am I painting them again? Because I thought there was too much. There's too much brown on them for the colour scheme. They look too snakebite for my liking. I've blocked in the basic colours, so they're tabletop, like 3 colour minimum. They're sorted, but I haven't done any techniques with them yet. I haven't thrown any washes down or anything. I haven't put down the camo patterns yet. But what I want to do is I want to fix this these straps and do them in black again, and then I'm just gonna leave the leather black. I think aesthetically it looks better in my eyes for the color scheme I'm going for, to have the leather in black, and then I'll edge highlight it a little bit. Or will I even bother edge highlighting it? Like, there's 30 of the bastards. This is my problem, is I need to work out a technique of speed painting them. Because I need to, you know, I have hundreds of miniatures. I'm making a video about my orc collection. Steve-O was showing off his current orc collection, and I was like, oh shit. It's like, if Steve-O has that much, and I'm like, so I've dug up most of my miniatures. I'm going to be finished making the video. I currently have a table set up downstairs and with most of my collection. Now, when I do make that video, and I'm due to finish it today, and I'll probably release it tomorrow or sometime next week. So probably, maybe not tomorrow, but hopefully the sooner the better. I'm going to make the video and I'm going to show you the miniatures I have. And the problem I have straight away is I know I have more miniatures than that. They're just in bits. I didn't realise that I have so many unbuilt miniatures. Like, I literally have a bits box that's about that deep. of just orc bits. It's like a lot of the bits need to go on the miniatures. This is the problem I have, is a lot of my miniatures aren't finished being fully built. So I need to start knocking it out. But I'm gonna think I'll do it once a year where I show you the state of the collection. So I think once a year, probably at the end of the year, I'll show you what our Skarnir and what progress I've made. But yeah, I think a large part of the problem I have is I don't have a dedicated setup. My god, your mouth gets dry from talking a lot. I don't have a dedicated setup, so every time I go to paint stuff, it's effort to pull stuff out, it's effort to put stuff away, and then when things aren't convenient, you're less likely to do them. Especially me, I'm a lazy bugger when it comes to painting stuff. So what I'm doing in the process of doing is I have two glass cabinets. You know, the IKEA ones, I forget the name of them, but I have two glass cabinets sorted to be in the room here with me. Now I don't have much space, but I'll be able to sort space out for that. And I've also bought additional shelving for them. So I'm forcing myself to look at the orcs, and then they'll be there. They'll be convenient. I'm also going to be sorting out my setup, my desk here. I'm going to be making it more hobby orientated. I'm going to get. I've already looked at wall mounts for Vallejo paints. I think I'm going to go full Vallejo game colours. I think the only colour that I'll stick with for Games Workshop will be the Wa Flesh. I think I'll stick with the Wa Flesh just so that it's consistent across the army. Once you with orcs, you don't have to be consistent with colour. The whole thing with orcs is, as orcs get older, their skin becomes darker and more sort of gnarly. So like, the knobs should be slightly darker than the boys. The warwash, or you know, like the big mechs should be darker than the knobs, and then the pain boys and stuff. And then the war boss should be, skin tone wise, if you're going by the fluff, the war boss should be the darkest out of all of them, because he's, you know, as orcs fight, as you already know, as orcs fight, that's, you know, that's what they live off of. Quite literally, that's what they live off of. They'll eat anything. They'll eat each other in, like, if it gets really bad, they'll eat whatever. Squigs. Squigs are a large part of their diet. They'll eat squigs, but they'll eat anything. The local flora or fauna, humans, bits of space marine, old tires, whatever. They'll, you know what I mean? Orcs aren't picky, man. They'll eat whatever. And, yeah, so as they survive and they get bigger, so literally scaling them up isn't too bad. Because I went into the local Games Workshop to buy plastic glue, which was another thing I bought when I was in town today. And I was talking to the guy behind the counter. Yeah, because I've misplaced my plastic glue. I bought plastic glue because I realised I have so many plastic miniatures I need to repair. I went and I tried. So there's the local FLGS, their friendly local gaming store. I went there, and I didn't like the only plastic bottle they had, because I wanted one with like the metal tube. It's a lot easier to control and easy to clean. The one they had was more along the lines of a super glue bottle. Pardon me. It's more like along the lines of a super glue bottle, so I wasn't too happy with that bottle. So I wanted to go and get Humbrol. Normally I buy Humbrol plastic glue, but I've misplaced mine. I don't know where it is. So I want to repair miniatures for the video, showing off the collection, and it's in a terrible state. I was very surprised. But anyway, miniature collection. Needed plastic glue. Wanted to go to the model shop, but it was closed. Like, when I mean model shop, you know, the Airfix and guys who sell railway stuff and, you know, remote control, that type of model shop. I think it's literally called the model shop on Capel Street, and it was closed. So then I was thinking to myself, because I still had time to kill because my car was getting washed. I was thinking, okay, well, where else could I go? Now, I know there's another model shop on the other side of the city, because Dublin City is north part of the city, the river Liffey that goes through it on the south part of the city. And I was feeling a bit lazy because it's a really warm day. So I was like, the Games Workshop isn't too far from here. I'll go down to the Games Workshop. So I went down, I went to the Games Workshop, and as you can see, I went and I bought the plastic glue. And then I was talking to the guy behind the counter, as, you know, you do. He's ringing whatever you're buying up, and, you know, you talk shite, as you do. It's part of their job, it's part of being Irish, you just talk bollocks to people. And I was asking, you know, it was just the Orc Codex, any news in the Orc Codex? He's like, nah, you know, it's rumours, blah, blah, blah. We were talking a bit, and then we were talking about Gazgul. He's like, oh, rumours of Gazgul being bigger and stuff. And I was like, yeah, you know, size creep and all that. And then, but it makes sense. Because orcs get bigger the more they fight. Like, initially I was a bit resistant to there being like a, what is it, a Primorc version of Gazgul, like a Primorc version. So people want a Primarch, as in like a robot girly man. People want a Primarch size Gazgul. And initially I was a bit, size creep, you know, we're going to be playing with miniatures the size of Titans in about 20 years if it keeps going. But it makes sense fluff-wise. If Gazgul's constantly fighting and the timeline has moved forward, but technically we're still in the 40th millennium because, the 41st millennium because you got you had your clock set wrong and all this type of stuff. It actually makes sense for Gazgul to be pretty big. So yeah, I'd be interested in something like that. In a decent Gazgul miniature. And a pretty big one. But what we really need is a multi-part plastic war boss. That's what we need. I've said this many times before. We have Gruk Face Ripper plastic war boss now, but apart from that, we don't have much going. You know, so it'd be interesting. The war buggy needs an update. It'd be nice to see a multi-part plastic kit for the war buggy and the Scorcher. Maybe a new option brought in. What else would be nice? I don't know if they'll bother updating the special characters that are in Failcast at the moment. Like Badrook or Snickrot or Zagstruct. I don't know if they will. Sorry, I'm painting him. I don't know if they will. I don't know if they'll bother, but it would be nice if they did. Yeah, because Failcast was just a money grab. That's all it was. It's like, here, look, we'll stop producing these miniatures in metal. We'll produce them in this shitty resin that melts if you leave it on the fucking windowsill. That has really bad quality control. And we'll charge you more for it. Now that's Games Workshop evolved. Thankfully they've turned a new leaf. But the proof is in the pudding. I want to see some progress with the orcs. Like, they need a lot of love. They really do. Now, I like the orc boys. A lot of people are like, oh, it's so dated and it needs to be updated and orcs need to be bigger and blah blah blah. It's like, mate, alright, calm down, alright. Take it easy. Okay, I get that orcs could deal with upsizing, but I think the boy kit is still pretty good. It's a good backbone of the army. They've aged well. I think they've aged pretty well. Out of all of the plastic miniatures, taking into account their age, they're like, what? Nearly 20 years old, you know, at this stage, something along that lines. They're old enough. I'll give you that much. They are old enough, but they still look the part. You know what I mean? They're still good. I think what could fill that gap that people are looking for is, I don't think boys should be like, huge. Like knobs, I think the knobs are pretty good. I think the knobs are sweet. Like I like the knob. Like he is bigger than a boy. Like he stands head and shoulders over the boys. So I think the gap that could be filled between the knob and the boy that people want in bigger miniatures could be Scar Boys. And people are like, well, what's a Scar Boy? Scar Boys you could buy in the Third Ed Codex. They're like veteran boys. It's that place between being an orc boy and a knob is a Scar Boy. So I think that would be yeah, that would be a decent release if they did like Scar Boys. So they're bigger orcs, but they're not huge. Like everything else that seems to be done lately, everything's on massive scales and huge miniatures, and it's like, dude, I'm supposed to carry like 300 of these around in a carry case. I don't want them to be massive, you know. I also don't get why people put boys onto the bigger bases. It's like you do know you're shafting yourself game wise. It's like, oh, but it looks better. It's like they fit on the 28, you know, they fit on these. So I don't know why you need to go mad about it. Like knobs are supposed to still be on the small bases, but they look like way better on a bigger one. You know, you can spot straight away. Oh, that's the knob. He's got a bigger base. You know, he's more presence. He's bigger than the rest of them, which is pretty cool. Yeah, when you're making your mobs of boys, I suggest you go out and buy the knobs box set. Don't build your knobs from the boys set because the bits they give you are naff. The torso, and the legs are still the same size as the other boys. Whereas if you buy a knob from the knob box set, like this guy here, he's so much cooler, man. Like it's a nicer pose, you know. I think I converted that gun. So that was supposed to be a slugger. It's supposed to be a pistol. And basically I've chopped the front end off of a shooter and put it on. And then I've like a strip of plastic card, but it's out of focus now, so you can't really see. But there's a strip of plastic card with some rivets, and it's for looks and also structural support. Structural support. So yeah, there you go. Knobs. And the unit of boys. So we'll chip away at painting this black, and this paint is still not dried in. This paint is still wet. You see? That's how good this is. Oh, a little bit of water. It's probably a little bit too watery now. But this paint is still moist. And I'm like, it's a warm day. If this was on a plate, this would be dry by now. But because you have the moisture of the paper towel underneath, it keeps it going, man. If you have not done this yet, if you have not made a wet palette, do it now. Do it yesterday. It's a great idea. You'll thank me. I didn't come up with the concept, but I looted it like any good orc. You know? It is a great idea. I think it's supposed to be especially good at if you're doing like wet blends and stuff like that. So like you'd have this colour, you'd have another colour here, and you'd blend, and it'll stay moist for longer, you know. Barely getting any painting done, more chatting than anything else. Yeah, I've made it a bit too watery now because I thought it had actually dried out more than it had. Yeah, so that's how moist it's keeping it. It's like a bit too much on the watery side now. Just a wee bit too much. But yeah, so like I was saying, I want to make more vids. And I want to get a lot more painting done. But my problem is, my dedicated hobby space, is my computer space, is my, you know, it's my general space, you know. My table's used for everything. I currently have like a Lego Millennium Falcon tucked onto the table with my Razer keypad and my, you know, I have a small space that I'm trying to use for many things. So when I get the glass cabinets in beside me, I'll show you a vid. That'll be sorted. Like the green screen I have behind me, I specifically went out my way to buy a green screen that's portable and small. So I spent more money on a green screen than I needed to. But because I can't have a permanent setup, because I've such a small room, I live in the room as well. Like, so I sleep here, you know, and I have to live in this space, and I can't have things set up constantly. Like, I've had a light, that light beside me, I have a light over here. There's a light just off camera. I have a light set up here, and it's been set up for the past couple of weeks, just to stand on the tripod, and it's a pain in the fucking bollocks, like, because it gets in the way of the door. Like, I literally have a space that's probably like 5 foot by about 12 foot, 14, I'd a guess. I'll measure it another time. And that's the room I have. And that's me and my fucking hobby. This is the problem I've always had in different places. When I don't have a setup done, the hobby just gets in my way and it fucking irritates me. And then I just end up packing it away, like, you know? And then when I pack it away, and I leave it packed away, I end up losing track of what I actually have for the orcs. So sometimes what happens is you end up buying more miniatures. I have 9 battle wagons. 9 battle wagons. I didn't even realise. I thought, oh, I have 7. I've fucking 9 of them. 2 of which are still on the sprue. You know what I mean? I have 4 jets. I thought I had 3. I thought I had 3 no, sorry. I thought I had 2 stompers. Because at one stage, I traded a stomper away new in box to someone for some mega knobs. And I've 3. I don't even remember where I got the other one from. You know what I mean? This is the issue. Because I don't have the miniatures. I don't have them there staring at me, giving out to me, you know, shaming me with the we're not assembled, we're not painted, you bollocks. Sort of, it's always been out of sight, out of mind. So it's I'm handling these badly, but whatever. Out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. And I just want to get them painted. I really do. I'm a bit of a mad bastard at the moment. Because I've been looking at an extraction fan. Because I want to get the old airbrush up and running. Because I actually do have an airbrush and a compressor. And that chroma key is looking weird on that. But whatever. I have a couple of airbrushes. I have that little compressor with attached to the tank. So I'm thinking... in regards to getting a lot of these orcs painted, I'm actually thinking that if I buy into the Vallejo Model Air sets, and I have a couple of them, I'll be able to get a lot of the base colours down, but in order to use the airbrush, I need to have ventilation. So I'm looking at a long-term investment. I don't want to be buying an old cheapo Chinesey one that for 80 quid that then goes to shit, you know? Especially when it comes to a ventilation booth. I want something decent. I only have a small room, so I can't afford to be spraying paint particles everywhere. So the one I've been looking at, I forget the name of it, but it's about 300 quid sterling. It's not cheap. And the filters aren't cheap for it either. But it's fucking top-notch stuff. I've done a lot of research. And this is the beauty of YouTube. You can research anything. I watched, I don't know how many reviews on my mic. The mic I'm using, the boom arm, the audio interface I have, the green screen, the lighting kits, anything you want to buy, there are video reviews for everything. Somebody specializes. Like the guy I watched the video reviews for the microphone, that's what he specializes in. He specializes in mics, audio interfaces. The guys that I watched the video reviews for on green screens, it's like, that's what they're into. They're into green screens. Everybody has... That's the beauty of YouTube. All these little niche hobbies that guys like super specialize into and they know really well, you can get their opinions on it. And it really helps. Like I have a friend who's really into into photography. And when I plan on getting an SLR for battle reports in the future, when I get miniatures painted, I'll do battle reports. I'll need an SLR for decent quality. I'll be able to ask him. You know, or you can watch video reviews. It's like, you know, what's the best camera? You just type it in, you know, what's the best vlog camera in 2018, blah, blah, blah. That ain't gonna be cheap either. I reckon that's gonna be about 400 quid if you buy into it. Because you're better off. There's no point in being a cheap prick. Now I understand not everyone can afford these things. I don't have kids currently, so it's like I can spend some money, but I can't be getting a bit ridiculous. You know what I mean? I can't be going crazy. But yeah, I don't need to buy any orc miniatures. I just want to spend money on my setup so that it's convenient for me. And once it's convenient, I'll get miniatures painted. That's the next stage of my hobby and sort of channel. You know what I mean? It's gonna be just to get things set up so that they're convenient, so that I can get the hobby knocked out, so that I can get more miniatures painted, so I can show you the progress of my orc army being painted after I show you the initial video of all of the shit I own. Well, it's not all of it, but the video I'm going to be posting up is going to show you somewhere between 70 to 80% of my collection. And then I know, because I know I have other vehicles that are just in bits boxes, because I ran out of storage at one stage and decided it would be a great idea to snip everything off the sprue and just throw it in the bits box. But you can tell, it's like, oh, well, Skarnir, how do you know that you have like 3 trucks? Well, it's like, well, there's 3 frames for 3 trucks, and if I rummage through, I know I'll find the rest of the bits. And there's 3 bodies off of Death Dreads, so I know I have 3 more. You know, there's like key components to models that you know, if it's there, then you know, I know I have a full model there, because it's a key component that I don't, that you'd need. It'd be like if I found the flatbed of a battle wagon. I know I haven't done any conversions yet that would leave a flatbed spare. So I know if I find a flatbed of a battle wagon in my bits box, I have a whole battle wagon in there. You know what I mean? It's yeah. It's a bit of a problem. Now, I haven't bought any more miniatures this year. I haven't bought any miniatures because I don't need any. Now, unless they come out with something new in the Orc Codex release, which, yeah, I don't know if they will, because, like, how many other codexes have been done and how many of them have gotten new miniatures? That's the context we need to look at. As Orc players, it's like, did other armies get units? Yes, no. Like, all the Space Marines are gonna get Primaris Marines. That's a given. That they're the new shiny. But like, did Imperial Guard get new miniatures? Did Necrons get new miniatures? You know, that's the question you need to be asking yourself. Did Tyranids get new miniatures when they got a new codex? If the answer to that is yes, did they get much? You know, did they get a whole new line of stuff? I don't think anyone really has. I think, like, the Necrons and stuff may have gotten a character or 2, but nothing major. So there's, you know, we might get a character or a miniature or 2, but I don't know, unless they absolutely revamp the whole Orc line and do it as like a summer release. So, like, if we're in May now, so if they did like a Forgebane box, Space Wolves haven't been done yet, so if they did Space Wolves and Orcs, which would be an awesome matchup, if they did Space Wolves and Orcs in a Forgebane box set release, that would be cool. I'd really like that. I'd be interested what they do for the Space Wolves as well. I used to collect Space Wolves years ago, but I fell out of love with them when they decided to put Space Wolves onto giant wolves. I was like, as Ant would say, or Dame, sorry, that they became a bit Flanderized. Basically, they went from being Vikings in space to to being ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. But whatever, it's neither here nor there. But orcs, I think, are fun. I'm just wondering, like, like, it can't be as bad as the 7-Ed Codex. That Codex was just... oh my god. That codex was rubbish, man. That I can safely say without a shadow of a doubt, the 7th edition codex for the orcs was the worst orc codex ever made by Games Workshop. Ever. It's like, oh, that's a pretty strong statement to make there, Skarnir. Why would you say that? I'd say that because I own all of the codexes. I may not be collecting orcs as long as some of the older guys out there, but when I decided to go down that rabbit hole, I went head first and, you know, orcs all the way. I think the only thing I'm short of having is an orc tattoo, but I'm not that crazy. I know what GW's like with their IP. They'll shaft you. I find that interesting, like what's to stop them from killing off a faction? Could you imagine you got a tattoo and you're like, oh yeah, you know, I love me some Space Wolves, and then 2 editions later they're gone. It's like, oh, what's that tattoo for 10 years down the line? Oh, it was a game I played and it was a faction, but they don't exist anymore. You know, that'd be funny, I think. That sort of thing. But I think with orcs are fun, like, I like them. What swayed my mind is I've always liked orcs. I started Space Wolves because my grandparents, for one of my birthdays, bought me a Bloodclaw box set and a Space Wolves codex. And that's how I started Space Wolves. They picked for me, but I was happy enough. Yeah, I thought they were cool, man. Like, how cool was that? Your grandparents buying you a codex and a box of miniatures. I was well chuffed. I think I started in the hobby in about, I think it was 1997. I started in the hobby then. And yeah, I've mostly stuck with it. I've been on and off, wax and wane, but I've mostly stuck with it through all that time. So hence my large collection of miniatures, because ever since I decided to get into orcs, we have this mentality, I think, with orc players. It's like, no matter how many miniatures you have, it's never enough. Which sounds great on paper. But once you realise what you actually have, you're like, I better get that airbrush set up. So yeah, I want to get an extraction fan, so I get the airbrush set up, so I get painting orcs a lot. Yeah, I have a lot of orcs to paint. I'll get through it eventually. That's the idea anyway. We'll see. But yeah, I'm not buying any more miniatures. Unless, I've made a rule with myself, I'm not buying any more miniatures unless I sell some to buy them first. So what I've done is, I have a load of fantasy miniatures, because I used to be into Warhammer Fantasy. I think the first box set I bought was a set of Bretonnians back in like 5th edition Warhammer Fantasy. I bought the plastic Bretonnians. So Bretonnians were knights, because I always liked knights. I've always liked fantasy, dragons. I've always liked fantasy and sci-fi. I can always remember watching films as a kid, like Willow and stuff like that, and Conan the Barbarian. Sort of that whole era of 80s fantasy. So I would have been relatively young in the early 90s, but obviously it would have all been played on TV by that stage. Back when you had like 9 channels. Yeah, fun. A lot has changed in a relatively short part of time. Short span of time. A lot has changed. And it's interesting, it's fun. I wonder what it's gonna be like technology wise when I'm an old man in my 80s, if I live that long. Yeah, I'd be pretty interested to see what way technology goes. I'd be well chuffed with my own little robot butler or something like that. That would be pretty cool, man. I like near future sci-fi films like that where the technology is. Technology isn't the answer to everything, obviously. Says the man sitting down painting toy soldiers with acrylic paints and a paintbrush. You know, it's technology is not the answer to everything, but I do think technology makes our lives a hell of a lot easier. So yeah, it'll be interesting, and then it'll be interesting in the regard of, you know, my generation is probably like pretty pretty tech savvy, I'd say on a whole. Um, so by the time that we get old, you know, it's like, oh, I don't think loneliness will be as much of a problem. You know what I mean? Like, how many people play WoW? Imagine when those guys retire and get old. It's like, oh, well, I'm wheelchair bound now and I have to shit into a bucket and I can't go far. But I have all my mates online, you know? Once I sit down at my computer or whatever we're using at that stage, probably like augmented reality or something like that. Yeah, it'll be fine, man. I think, yeah. I think it'll be good by the time I'm in my 80s if I get that far. I think it'll be interesting times. If it all doesn't go to shit between now and then. It's like, oh, nuclear war. Nah, fuck it. If it happens, it happens. Who gives a shite? Who cares, man? I've miniatures to paint. I've an orc collection to paint. I can't be worrying about world politics or, you know, wars in Middle East and Korea and all this. Nah, bollocks to that. I've better things to be worrying about. Look at that fucking. There's one hair on this brush that is longer than all of the fucking rest of them. So is it me or is it Army Painter? Is that coming out altogether? I need to wash this and find out. I find I never have much luck with paintbrushes. What in the Jesus? Brand new brush, and already there's a stray hair that's just like, it's like most of the brush, stray hair. Oh, usually the way of it. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Now, what I was saying, yeah, I made like a vow to myself not to buy any more miniatures because I've a load of them. I have loads of them. So I was selling off my old Warhammer Fantasy stuff. And my plan is to buy a Mecha Dread and a Mega Dread. And the bits to go with them. But I'm getting rid of miniatures. So I'll be getting rid of a lot of miniatures to get only 2. You get me? It's like I'm downsizing a bit. Because I have a lot of fantasy stuff I haven't used in years. So I might as well sell them all. And get rid of them. Because they're no use to me. There's no point in having stuff sitting in a shed that's not being used. Hence me wanting to get my glass cabinet set up. Get my orcs out of boxes. So that I'm actually actively painting them. And converting them. You know? And that's the thing with me is I like having one, at least one of a miniature original. It's sort of like the inner collector in me. It's like, oh, you know, well, if I have 3 Stompers, I'll have one original. Then I have a Forge World one. So I'm like, I'll have one original. I'll have the Forge World one. And then the 3rd one, I'll go to town on that one. I plan on doing the obligatory Battle Wagon head swap. That's very popular, but looks really cool. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google Stompa with Battle Wagon head. Something's bound to come up. You'll see. Basically, you replace the Stompa head with a Battle Wagon cab, which means you'll be left with the front. So the front half of the Battle Wagon will be gone. So you'll be left with a set of tracks and a back part. So you could, within reason, make a vehicle out of those bits, you know? But yeah, Games Workshop should be encouraging this type of thing. It's like, well, this guy's got to convert his Stomper, so he's buying 2 kits instead of 1. And speaking of the Stomper, Jesus wept. It is way too many points for what it is. My God. It used to be cheaper. I think it used to be somewhere in the region of 500 points. I'm going to have to stop painting for a moment. It used to be somewhere in the region of 500 points when it first came out in Apocalypse. Do I have my Apocalypse book there? I fucking do. Give me 2 seconds, right? I literally have my Apocalypse book. I'm wearing like bright orange shorts because it's warm out. So, oh no, you don't get to see him. The chroma key. Where's my Apocalypse book? I'm still here. I'm just digging through stuff. My library of orc books that are hidden away in the Xenos. Where is me bleeding? Oh Jesus! Now, if you haven't been collecting orcs for long, and you missed the boat on it, if you ever see this book on eBay, fucking buy it. The rules are out of date by now, but my God, is it awesome! It is Imperial Armor, Volume 8, The Raid and Castoral Novum. What do you mean it's good, Skarnir? How's it good? Fucking... make sure you're sitting down for this one, lads. Right? This is the fucking dog's bollocks. You know? No, look at the fucking thickness of it. It's like hardback. It is 224 pages long. Back when the Forge World did decent books. Now I know we have our index now, but which is a stopgap. The whole index malark is supposed to be a holdover until they do something decent. But Forge World, in my eyes, have been dropping the ball with big time with orcs. Big time. They discontinued the Gretchen crew, or the Gretchen. There was the line of Gretchen. They discontinued without a warning. Like, there's people losing their shit over the Elysian drop troops being discontinued. I think I'm just going to chat. So what I'll do, because I've been somewhat distracted, but put the lid on that, seal it. Now, if you're not going to paint for a week, put that in your fridge. That'll stay moist. It's more helpful for people who are blending colours. So say like you're doing your own custom colour or whatever, or you're midway through blending a horn. We'll just move these fuckers to the side for a bit. You're midway through blending a horn or whatever. You're blending a cape. That colour that you've blended together will stay moist in that sucker for a few days. If you put it in the fridge, you could get like 3 or 4 days out of it. So it's a great idea. I'm telling you, if there was ever a time you listen to me about something, it's make your own wet palette. You'll thank me. I shit ye not. Yeah, so Raid on Castoral Novum, right? So I'll show you the even like the artworks. Like, so they had Space Marines, Raven Guard, Scouts. So there's rules in here for Raven Guard. Pictures, images of stuff. Ah, that camera's shite. Ugh. My setup is not... This is not ideal. Yeah, it's like stuff like that. My apologies if the stream has gone a bit skewed, but there's like fucking loads of story and pictures and blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Look at this. They don't make this anymore. You know that? The custom battle fortress. I managed to buy one off of someone. and I got it at cheaper than, well, around retail price if I include postage. And I was lucky because these things normally go for a fucking fortune, and you need to be careful because you need to know what you're buying. Now, thankfully, I'm pretty happy with my one. It's original. How do I know it's original? Well, when I make my video tomorrow, you'll know. I know Forge World resin, how it cuts, the colour of it. You know what I mean? When you work with it, the texture of it. I know Forge World resin at this stage. I've a fair few Forge World miniatures, so I'm happy it's genuine. There's no miscast or anything. But like, they didn't make a, didn't make a miniature for some of this stuff. Chapter 7, Defeat and Withdrawal. It's all storyline and fucking campaign book. And it's awesome. It's awesome. Now, I bought this because we used it. Like, look at this shit. You don't get this, man. All the designations, dreads and cans, different rules for like different units. I can show you this because it's all out of date at this stage, but like, you know, why aren't they using this artwork in books and stuff when they re-release stuff? It's rules for battle wagons and gun wagons. See, there's a whole thing. But more importantly, you know, I could probably do, I should actually probably do a video on this book in and of itself. Battle Fortress, yeah. Just brings a smile to your face. It's awesome. So like different rules, like Death Roll of Battle Fortress, Skullhammer Battle Fortress, Orc Custom Battle Fortress. So you could do like custom builds, kill tanks, kill Crusher and Burst and all that type of stuff. The Fighter, another model discontinued. Oh, but Skarnir, they have the Fighter Bomber. The Fighter, I think, was a way better miniature. Like the Fighter Bomber's plastic. That's cool. Or not the Fighter Bomber, the fucking Wazbomb Blaster Jet. Whoever came up with that name needs a kick in the bollocks. And also the idea of putting the artillery piece underneath. It's like, so how exactly does it take off and land? You know? But orcs don't worry about that type of stuff. Yeah, alright mate, whatever. You lazy fucker. Look at this, man. They give you rules for a bomber. They didn't, to the best of my knowledge, the only time a miniature was actually made for this was a smaller scale. I could be wrong, but I don't think there was actually a Forge World miniature of this ever released. It's a bomber. It's pretty cool, man. Cop this. No, I'm looking for the Stomper rules. Where are the Stomper? Ray! Stomper. Buzzgob's Big Mech Workshop. Base cost 350 points plus the options. Alright. If ever you wondered you're being shafted when it comes to the Stomper, yes. Yes, you are. It is not worth the points it is. Why is it the point? Why is it stopping nearly 1,000 points? Because whoever wrote the 6th edition Apocalypse book was, I don't know, probably a Space Marine player, but clearly didn't like Stompers, so decided to nerf them. Stomper, 600 points. 600 points. Blah blah blah. Titan close combat weapon. Death cannon. Super Scorcher. 3 super rockets, green mountain shooter, transport capacity at 20, right? 600 points. This is the problem with the Stomper currently. It is way overcosted. It used to be cheaper. This, in my eyes, especially in the current meta, where Stompers just get absolutely annihilated. Hey Steve-O, how you doing, man? You made it, eventually. This is the problem we have with the Stomper, is like, they used to be cheaper, you know? They used to cost a reasonable amount of points, but then, I don't know. Someone decided to shit on our parade. What can you do? But yeah, if you ever get the chance, get this book, man. It's, like, look at the custom Stomper rules. You could build anything, man. It's like the base cost of a Stomper plus whatever. They just... the amount of love orcs got in this book, you're just not gonna. I don't think you're gonna see it again. So, if you get the chance, get your hands on a Raiden Constable Novum. Blah, 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 blah. Get the book. Tough day at work today. That book looks cool. Is it Imperial Armor? It is indeed, Steve-O. I'll try and fix the camera so it's not having a hissy fit. It is Imperial Armor Volume 8. And if you do find it on eBay, you bastard, fucking sit still. If you find it on eBay, buy it, man. It's well worth the buy. And this fucking camera. Jesus. But yeah, that's my main gripe. Is that the Stomper got absolutely shafted. Now there's a part of me that's like, I think they want you to buy Gorkanauts and not Stompers. You know, where's my logic behind that coming from? Well, there's like £5 in the difference between a Stomper and a Gorkanaut. So, you know, if you want people to buy newer miniatures, you discourage them rules-wise to put them off. So people are more likely to buy Gorkanauts than they are to buy Stompers, because rules-wise, you know, you get more bang for your buck. But I think the Gorkanauts are overpriced as well, man. I think they're way too many points. This is another point I'd like to see. Gorkanaut is much nicer model than what the Stomper. I actually like the Stomper. I think it's pretty cool, man. I think the Gorkanaut, if you look at the Gorkanaut on its side profile, jeez, I don't have one handy here. But if you look at the Gorkanaut on its side profile, it literally looks like one guy was designing one miniature, another guy was designing another miniature, and they just sort of, here you go, there's your Gorkanaut, mate. Have at you. You know what I mean? It's like the Gorkanaut, I think I think the problem with like the Gorkanaut and the Morkanaut is they try to fill too many niches. They try to be like the jack of all trades, but they're not good at any of them. So like shooting wise, they've a load of weapons, but they're not specifically great. They've a transport capacity, but it's not that much. You know what I mean? And they're not assault vehicles, so they're not great at that either. You know what I mean? They're a lot of points for what they are. They're a bit bigger than Dreadnoughts, but they're smaller than Stompers. And people were like, oh, you know, that was a niche that needed to be filled. But there's the Mega Dread and the Mecha Dread, which in my eyes look way better than any of the Gorkanauts or Morkanauts. One of my favourite kits in the Orcs. The Orc range. They are overcosted on points. Steve-O, I would argue that most stuff in our codex is overcosted. Like, I think Orc points should only be about like 5 points at most. I think them being 6 points is a bit of a piss take. Flash kits, I think they're overcosted. I think like the premise with the Orcs, I think, is alright, cool. So if it's anything stronger than a gentle breeze, will die. Alright, so okay, that's the premise. Orcs can deal out a lot of damage, but then they'll die easy. That's cool, I'm happy with that. But then the points should reflect that mentality. Like, I think a lot of our specialist units cost way too many points. Commandos, too expensive. Storm Boys, too expensive. Looters, too expensive. Flash kits, too expensive. For what they are, they're too expensive. I think a lot of the problem with the Orcs is they're statted in regards to their weaponry and not in regards to their ability. Especially in this edition. It's like, oh, look, Flash kits have a ballistic skill where they can hit on a 4+. It's like, yeah, that's okay. But like, the 5 times I've played Space Marines this edition, 4 of those times, the dudes were using the faction rails with -1 to hit. You know? And I'm pretty sure Space Marines aren't the only faction with -1 on the ballistic skill, so you're not getting as much bang for your buck. Orc ballistic skill ain't great. So you have to take that into consideration. It's like, put it this way. If you give a last cannon to a Space Marine, it's going to be more point efficient than if you give that last cannon to an Orc boy. That's how they should be costed. It's like, it doesn't matter how good I've said this before on forums and stuff. It doesn't matter how good a weapon is, it literally turns to scrap in an orc's hands. You know? It literally does, man. Way overcosted. Yeah, very good in assault. Make mincemeat of Terminators. Yeah, was it? I think it was yourself, Steve-O. Were you talking about knobs? Knobs do make a mess of things. I used to like running my units and knobs with just sluggers and choppers in the previous edition, and they were dishing out like 5 attacks at strength 5. There was no AP, but it was just the sheer volume of attacks. Yeah, knobs are pretty good, man. I think knobs are an underrated unit in the codex. I think they have very good potential. They're very customizable, so you can customize them to a specific task. But they're good, like, but they're pretty good. I tend not to run a unit of them currently. The unit I've always brought has been looters, because I need fire support. Because I found that orcs without fire support, if you don't have something shooting at your enemy as your boys are trying to close the distance, I find that they're a distraction. I use fire support, so I use looters as the distraction. Hopefully they do a little bit of damage to soften things up, but like, you want your enemy to not just be focusing on your units of boys coming up the field, because they'll just get butchered. So I've always used shooting as a distraction, or to try and soften up key units before the boys hit them, or to be taking out those threats like hellhounds and stuff like that that will absolutely annihilate orc boys. Those are pretty good, but again, overcosted. Big choppers rock. Yeah, big choppers are pretty decent, man. I haven't really tried the knobs unit this edition, but apparently combi scorches are supposed to be good. What with scorches auto hitting, if you're within range, so I'd give that a whirl. But I wonder how my slugger chopping knobs would fare. The sort of quantity of attacks over the quality of them, you know. It would be pretty interesting, all right. How are we doing time wise? We're all right. We've been streaming for a while, but not overrun. Yeah, like everything. Yeah, everything's overcosted. I think really a lot of the units are overcosted in the codex. I think they really are. From what I heard, when the Eldar got their codex, I think 90% of their units became cheaper. From what my friend was telling me, who plays Eldar. Yeah, I spent most of 7th edition playing against Eldar with orcs. That was fun. It's like, oh, psychic phase. I've got 14 dice. How many dice do you have, Skarnir? 2. Oh man. Yeah, that was that was entertaining to say the least. But then I used to use my lobbers. I learned very quickly that lobbers were pretty good at taking out farseers and psychers. It's like, oh, there he is behind the building. There's your little template for you there, bud. Cheers, you enjoy that. You know, it was fun. I want orc scale Scarboys in a new codex. Oh boy, that would rock. How big are the Aurochs though? Are they the size of knobs? Because I haven't actually gone near Age of Sigmar, because I just don't have an interest in fantasy anymore. I seem to be getting my fix from 40k orcs. But like, are the orcs bigger than knobs? Because I don't like, it's a horde army. You know what I mean? If you're gonna be taking lots of these prime orcs or whatever, as I said earlier in the stream, it's gonna be a bugger to carry them all. It's like, well, imagine if boys become the size of orcs. Like, carrying 90 boys around now is a bit of a pain in the ass. But imagine if they were bigger again than knobs. It's like, yeah, they're approximately Terminator size. So Scar boys. So you'd like bigger orcs, or would you like the orc boys themselves replaced with Terminator-sized orcs? Which seems a bit ridiculous, but okay. Totally don't want to be boys to be bigger. Yeah, because it's not practical. It really isn't. It's like I laugh when I see people putting their boys on bigger bases, and it's like, dude, you know, you're gonna have a mob of 30 of these dudes, and you're trying to get them. You're trying to get as many as you can into base contact as possible. So just putting the boys we have now on bigger bases, it's like, why would you do that? It's supposed to be a horde army. You get me? You want tides of orc boys, but yeah, Scar boys would be a good idea, but I wouldn't really want them to be bigger than knobs, unless, I suppose, if you replace the knobs with bigger orc size models and then had Scar boys be somewhere between there. Basically super knobs. Yeah, I suppose. Like I was saying earlier, it's a case of as orcs get older and more venerated, they physically become bigger. So I suppose with orcs it isn't too much of a problem. It just depends on when you set the baseline. So orc boys I think could stay the way they are, because they're not venerable. You know what I mean? They're not they're only new. And if you've ever played Gorka Morka, which I know most people haven't, or they've never heard of it, Gorka Morka was pretty much like the orc version of Necromunda. It was like Necromunda with vehicles. And what Gorka Morka had, which tends to be interesting, is they had a model that was smaller than an orc boy again. A youth. And the whole point was the youths were literally orcs that were only like days old, that came in out of the wilderness, and you just had them in your mobs, like Jews in Necromunda. So Jews were like the new recruits. So youths were new recruited orcs, and they were literally scrawny orcs. It was pretty cool like that. Before they became fully fledged boys, you know what I mean? It's that stage beforehand. Think of like lanky, sort of scrawny, teenage sort of orcs. But we don't have that in 40k, because, you know, by the time you see them on the tabletop, they're at the battlefield, having fought a fair bit. And yeah, so boys, they're not too bad. I think the orc kit, like I said earlier, has aged pretty well. I don't think it needs replacing. And maybe there's just a part of me that's like, I've hundreds of these bastards, you know. The idea of replacing them would be, nah, you're alright, mate. No matter how good the rules for an updated orc boy unit would be, or if they were replaced with something else, if they get rid of the orc boys, I'm not updating them. It's like, it's just way too much hassle. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't buy a unit or something just to try them out, if they were really cool miniatures, but I couldn't phase them out. I see it as boys, knobs, then Scar boys. They could be those veteran orcs that have grown even bigger and form units of basically prime orcs. So, right, so in your mind, you see it as boys, knobs, and then Scar boys. But this is what I was saying earlier. When we had them in the 3rd edition codex, Scar boys were the stage between boys and knobs. So it was like the in-between. But I suppose there's nothing, you know, it's not like Games Workshop has never changed the canon before. Suppose you could have Scar boys being bigger than knobs, but then you might want to call them something else, because we have boss knobs. So it'll be a stage between knob and war boss. Well, yes, feasibly that makes sense, because if you look at the size comparison between the war boss miniatures that we currently have and the knobs miniatures, there's a fair size difference. But then you want your war boss to stick out a bit, you know. They could be really old and seen as loads of battle, covered in scars and bionic limbs, and just look really savage, nasty mofos. Yeah, like, yeah, that's pretty much what happens to orcs, man. It's The more battles you survive, the more scar tissue you'll end up developing. You know, I don't think there's many other factions would get away with like, oh, me limb was chopped off. It's all right. I'll just get the doc to stitch it back on, or oh, I've lost my arm. That's all right. Don't worry. We'll just super glue a chainsaw to you. You'd be grand. You know what I mean? That sort of mentality. That the orcs are pretty hardy. Like it's pretty cool. You can get away with a lot of conversions. And speaking of bionic conversion bits, I think Cromlech do some decent bionic bits. I have a bag of them somewhere that I bought years ago, and I just haven't. I didn't update my knobs because I bought them for the knob set, because back in our 4th edition codex, bionic bits. What were they called? I'm trying to remember the name of them. What was the name of it? They had a name for bionic bits for orcs, which I can't remember for the life of me at this moment in time. But I'll be kicking myself later. You know yourself. Yeah, they were in between that. I was thinking slight change to the lore. Yeah, probably the lore could do with being updated. I'm sure with all the change and turmoil in the 41st millennium that orcs could do with an updated. I'd be interested to see what they do storyline wise with like Gazgul, or just the orcs in general. If they're going to bother to try and unify them more, if they're gonna just eventually overrun Armageddon or something like that. There's demons on Armageddon now. Apparently, there's like corn demons or something. I don't know. I didn't really keep up with the main lore of the not the end times or whatever they call it. The end times, or the storyline, the books that they brought out before they decided to split the galaxy in two. Which I don't mind. Some progress is cool, like, you know what I mean? It'll be interesting. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do with the orcs in general. I'll be interested in the fluff that will be in the codex itself in regards to the clans, and I'm really interested in what clan rules they do. Like I said, I'm not going to be changing my clan, so it's just a case of whatever clan traits they give me, that's just what I'm going to play. Even if it's not towards my playstyle, with blood axes, I'm not going to change my clan, because that's the clan I've picked. That's the clan I've always liked with orcs. They've always been my favourite ones, so it's not like I'm going to be playing Blood Angel Marines and pretend they're Raven Guard so I get a -1 to hit, those sort of shenanigans. You know who you are. Yeah, so I'd be interested in the different clan rules. It'd be cool for once, because I think the last time we had a difference in clans rule-wise was probably 2nd edition, I think. Was it 2nd edition? I think it was 2nd edition, or maybe Rogue Trader. I don't think 3rd edition had different clan rules, because I started playing when the 4th edition codex was out. I started my orcs when the Assault on Black Reach box set came out. Literally the day. I waited until, I think I bought the codex beforehand, and then I waited until release day, and I showed up and I bought 2 Assault on Black Reach box sets. And what people were doing is they were swapping. So when I bought 2 box sets of Assault on Black Reach, I then swapped with other guys. Now, I came late in the day, so I was there. I had swapped. I think guys had like queued up before the store opened, but I wasn't that arsed. I think I had like boxes reserved or something like that. I may have reserved boxes beforehand, but I bought 2 box sets, and I swapped the Space Marine contents of the Assault on Black Reach set for 2 more box sets worth of orcs. So I ended up, when I started my army, I had 4 starter set worth of orcs. So I had 4 war bosses. I think I had 20 knobs. I ended up with like 12 death copters, and however many boys you got in the set. I think you got like, was it 20? Fluffing your codexes is so much better than other armies. Ever read Space Marine Codex, Yawn, or Sisters of Battle? Well, I don't think the Sisters of Battle have had a codex in a really, really long time. I have some friends who collect Sisters of Battle. So anytime I give out about not having a decent codex, they're like, but we haven't got one in ages. And it's like, I think 40k in general, I'm getting a bit tired of all of the Imperial factions. It's like, oh, we've Sisters in Silence and Custodes and Sisters of Battle, Imperial Guard, 1,000,001 Space Marine codexes. Oh, look, another different type of Space Marine codex. Oh, look, Assassins, Inquisitors, Grey. You know what I mean? It's like, we get it. You love the Imperium. We get it. Alright? You know, but for the year of the Xenos, you think you would have released all of the Xenos codexes by now, you know? Just a little bit of salt coming out there, and just a little salty at this stage, in regards to codexes. But yeah, I think the game is too Imperial centric. It's like Imperium, the tabletop war game. Pretty much. I think the problem is that not many people do what I do anymore, which is you collect one faction, and especially a Xenos faction. I don't think many people do that, where they just have the one faction. I think quite a lot of people, and I think it's encouraged as well, is that you'll have 3 or 4 different armies. So you'll have like a Space Marine army, and maybe like a Tyrannid army, and then like an Eldar army and a Tau army. I think the game is more geared towards that, towards people having multiple armies, so that when your codex isn't great for one army, you're not too bothered, because you go off and you're like, oh, it's cool, I just want to play them for a while. But when you're just into one faction and you get a shit codex, you're stuck with it, like the previous codex. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit salty. The 7th edition codex was bollocks. Fucking A. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, you're the Xenos. It's going well for us. But yeah, I plan on changing a few other bits and pieces. I haven't really got much paint done in this, but like I said, I'm used to painting here and then trying to paint under the camera. It's like trying to paint here. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass. And the paint is still wet on the palette. Steve-O, do you have one of these? Do you have a wet palette? You bollocks. If not, make one. Get yourself an old seatable sandwich container, some kitchen roll, bit of water under a kitchen roll, and then throw down like a baking paper, and you're sorted. That paint is being topped up, but it's been moist. Magical word. It's been moist for the whole of this stream, so that's way over an hour now at this stage. Oh, you do have, see, look, there you go. Probably another Tabletop Minions subscriber, like myself. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel by now, why not? I want a valid excuse, but there is no valid excuse. Subscribe, you bollocks. Bleeding sickies. And then hit the bell button, because YouTube decided you have to subscribe twice. Oh, YouTube, why are you so silly? Moist. Indeed. Yeah. Having to hit a bell button. And then messages. Have you ever tried to send or receive messages on YouTube? It is a pain in the ass. I bet you that most people probably don't even know where the message feature is on their YouTube account, because you need to go into Creator Studio. I think you need to go into Community. This is on the PC, by the way. So Creator Studio, Community, and then you'll find messages. It's almost like they don't want you to use it. Almost. Yeah, it used to be a lot easier. A lot easier going back. I have my YouTube channel set up since 2009, I think. I haven't really done much with it for a long time. Because I think initially I set up the channel because I was going to get into tournaments, so I did that for a while. If you look in some of my older videos, which are horrendous, I went to a few tournaments. And I think we were limited to 10-minute videos back then. So I tried to get videos that were under 10 minutes. But a lot of guys now who do battle reports, they're like an hour and a half, 2 hours long, that type of thing. Eventually I hope to do something like that myself. But yeah, that requires painted miniatures, you know. Something I'm not very disciplined at getting done, as you can tell. But we'll get there eventually. We will get there eventually. We'll persevere. Now, where have I put the protector cap off of this bloody paintbrush? I have no idea. Yeah, so for future streams, I think I can position this camera a bit better and get it focused more. So I think I'll put it closer to the table and I'll have the focus set so that you can actually see the detail, as opposed to, you know, there's a miniature here, but because I have it on manual focus, it's a lot harder to try and show you any detail. But like I said, these guys aren't, they're all basic colors. I haven't gotten into the detail of them yet. I haven't even put I haven't even highlighted their skin. So these guys are basically, is it Warboss green or Wa flesh? These guys are all mostly yeah, it's all Wa flesh. And then I think I'm going to highlight them Warboss green. So Steve was saying, I'm in the same boat, mate. Can't do bat reps yet. Got so much to do and no bloody time. Yeah, fucking tell me about it. I've been procrastinating with orcs for about 10 years now. But yeah, that's why I hadn't been doing videos, as I said earlier in the stream, for the past couple of weeks. Because I don't want to make videos for the sake of making videos. I want to make videos when I have progress with the army, but like work's been crazy for me. So I can only imagine people who have kids and work. Like life gets in the way. It's just the same with any hobby. Life takes priority whether you like it or not. Things will happen. You know, life events, holidays, kids, you know, they're a big responsibility. I don't have any myself. I have a nephew though. So I do see that sort of spectrum of life a little bit, but not very much currently. And yeah, I can understand like why it's hard to get the hobby done. But my problem personally is discipline. I have a lack of discipline across the board, not just with the hobby, but just in general. I'm really bad at keeping the schedules or deadlines. It's like, if I was like a sales assistant or anything, I wouldn't last very long. But yeah, I'll be making videos as I progress through when life permits. But I don't want to just make videos for the sake of making videos. Like, I know you need to be making like 3 videos, as I said earlier, with YouTube, but that sounds more like another part-time job. I want to make videos because I want to make videos. I don't want to make videos just for the sake of it, and then having content that's just fucking, you know, that's dross. That's, you know, oh, here's another video just to keep my subscribers going. But I don't really care. I think I've like 280 subscribers or something like that. As long as somebody's interacting, I'm happy enough. You know what I mean? It's not the it's not that I'm trying to make it big, you know, 10,000. No, that's not what I'm after. I'm not looking for 10,000 subscribers or anything like that. If I get to 500, I'll be surprised. But yeah, I just want to with the orcs, the main goal is to head towards battle reports because I like watching battle reports. I think they're cool, and I think it'll be interesting just to get my take on it. You know what I mean? Not that you can really bring that much different. It's like, it's more along the video editing line of things is probably the opportunity that I'll have to learn the most. I actually make thumbnails now. Thanks for that one, Steve-O. I think it's Pixel Lab. So I use my phone, and I only recently discovered that I can make images. Like, so I could take this image of me, yeah, and then you can turn it into a PGA. What's the image? Whatever. There's like JPEG, and then there's like a PGA or something like that. So it's basically an image that you can put on top of an image in the background. you know, there is no background to it. And I figured out how to do that with the thumbnail maker. So that's fun. It's the little things in life that keep you sane. So yeah, that'll be fun. Plus, like I said, for my intro video, I think my little intro video is too long. Well, I find it's too long. So I bought a cable for my guitar today, like I said, and I'll plug it into my audio interface. And I dug up my Squire Telecaster from my mother's attic, and it was like a fucking oven in there because it's like super warm today. And so yeah, I'll mess around with that. I haven't touched the guitar really in like way over 10 years, longer than that. So I want to try and do a quicker intro. And now that I know how to edit images a bit better, I can change the video intro and put it onto some background images that I can probably meld together. So I can change it around a bit. Like, it's ever evolving until I'm happy with the channel. So it's a learning curve for me. Maybe you might learn something out of it, or maybe there might be something you can teach me. Like, that's what I like about YouTube. It's like, you'll be surprised the things that you can learn. You can learn anything. And you don't really need to put that much money into it. I just have because I wanted decent audio. Like, I bought the cameras that I have. I bought them like 2 years ago, and I just lost momentum. But at least this time around, when I've invested me green screen and whatever else, at least now I'm actually, you know, forcing myself to do it. I'm forcing myself to do the hobby. Says the man who's busy chatting and not painting his miniatures. That paint is still not dried. It's been open for a while. You're welcome, mate. Yeah, cheers, bud. Yeah, I like your vids. They motivate me. They really do. And it's fun. I think this is the thing about orc players, is I always find them driven to do more when you know there's other orc players also enjoying the hobby and also having fun with it. Especially YouTubers. I love finding orc players on YouTube and subscribing to them and watching the videos and trying to interact. But I found that a lot of, like years ago, I used to be subscribed to a lot of them. I found that a lot of guys would only do a few videos and then that would be it. Or I find with a lot of channels, they collect orcs, but they're only sort of like a side project. But yeah, I like watching other orc players progress with their orcs, and it sort of motivates me to want to do. I don't know what it is. It's like I don't know what it is. It's like, it's not that you're envious and you're like, oh well, he's painted his army, I better get mine done. It's like encouragement. It's like I don't know, some sort of motivational thing for me, where I enjoy watching the progress and the effort that other people put into their armies, so that then drives me on to try to want to do the same and be like, okay, so that's your take on it, I want to show you my take on it. You get me? Because that's what I find interesting about orcs, is you could literally have two orc players with the same army list and the same army build, but the armies could look totally different. Like, that's one of the interesting things I find about orcs, is you can be very expressive with them in regards to customization and conversions, let alone paint jobs. You know what I mean? Like, even green skin doesn't have to be a given. I've seen orcs painted red, grey, blue, any, you know, browns and stuff like that. Yeah, the majority of orcs are going to be painted green because that's the artwork that's depicted. But, you know, so orcs could literally be any colour. They could be any format you want them to be. Yes, inspiration. That's the word I was looking for. It's like, oh yeah, how do you say it? Yeah. No. You just go into a sort of a brain fart, a brain melt when you're doing a stream. But yeah, well, like I said, I like watching videos of other orc players. It motivates me to get going. I have a few videos that I want to do, but I find that the problem is, because I work long days. By the time I get home, I just do be too fucking tired, man. Like, I work 12-hour shifts, so by the time I get home, I'm just like, you know, I brush my teeth. 9 times out of 10, I just fucking get into bed and hit the hay, you know. So I can only imagine what it's like for guys who have kids and families and whatever else. Currently, I don't have any other active hobbies apart from 40k at the moment. And YouTube, I suppose, is a hobby in and of itself. But as I said when I was rebooting the channel, I'm using YouTube and the channel as a catalyst to get me painting. That was the plan anyway. Seems to be working. I've painted more orcs in the past month than I have in the past few years. Like, even if I stop painting these orcs now and they're not finished, I'll still have painted more than I've probably painted in the past 3 years. Yeah, definitely. That's how slow and glacial my painting is. But yeah, once I get the room set up and I get the extractor fan for the airbrush, I think I'll be flying then, man. You know what I mean? I'll be looking to get a color scheme sorted for these guys. So even if I do each unit different camos, I'll look at the Vallejo model there, and because I'm looking to do camos, I think it'll be easier for me, because the Vallejo model there is specifically sort of, it's more for like historical guys, but then I can apply those camo colours onto the uniforms for my blood axes. So I can get a few colour schemes that I can airbrush on and then just hand paint on some of the details. So if you know what I mean, like if I was just spraying khaki on, I could, you know what I mean, that would block off that section of the model, and then you can just paint on the green. So if I was painting the whole miniature like khaki or a grey, that would speed up the process a hell of a lot more. So prime it black, put on a base colour for the camo, pick out the skin, pick out the metals, and then for future effings I may or may not bother picking out the belts again. One of the guys I know who also collects and paints orcs, Canvas, Canvas, he was saying that he doesn't bother with all the belts and buckles, because this is the problem with orcs. Like, you wouldn't realise until you actually go to paint the little bastards just how much details on them. Like, I reckon if I was collecting a Space Marine army, I could have it painted relatively quickly. Just one flat colour over the army, throw a wash on it, and then edge highlight. Pick out metal detail and the lenses in the head if you want, and you're sorted. Like, I think Marines would be way easier to paint than orcs, because orcs have so much going on, like all this little detail, the bandages, the toe caps, you know, stitching, belts, buckles, more like leather straps, metal up here, even the helmet, you know what I mean? And then this is the problem I have, because I've painted, or I assembled them before I painted them. Getting in under here is a pain in the ass, man. Oh my god. So I find that painting orcs, shooter boys at least, is a slow process, but it's getting there. It's, you know, I want to box these guys off, and I'm sick of looking at them. Or should I start? I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Steve-O, if you're still there? Like, I've got the base colours down on these guys. I'm going to paint the straps black. And then, what do you think? Do you think I should, like, 100% complete them? Because I'm getting a bit tired of bastards by now. Or do you think I should move on to something else? Do you think I should, like, build or fix another unit? Like, something different. And then, paint that up? I don't know. Throw your thoughts in. I won't be painting another unit of 30 orc boys anytime soon, because this was a pain in the bollocks. It's like, oh yeah, you know, I know the deal. I'll use my channel as inspiration. I'll start painting orcs again. And it's like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll just kill all my fucking inspiration by picking a mob of 30. I could have done, I think what I would have been better off doing is buying, I don't need to buy, was painting a unit of truck boys. So like, I think 12 orc boys and a truck would have been a nice balance between painting boys and then getting a vehicle done. Whereas I think the problem I have is it's just slogging through. It's like, oh, well, I have 30 orc boys and I have to paint green. So you're like, well, that's that one painted green and the next one painted green. And you know what I mean? It's just, by the time you get to the last guy, you're just like, fucking, you'd be slitting your bleeding wrists with the paintbrush by the end of it. You know? It's a bit annoying. Maybe I just don't have the patience for it. But like I said, once I get the airbrush set up, hopefully it'll move things along. Hopefully. That's the plan anyway. In regards to basing, I just glue sand on. And I haven't actually picked a colour to base them. I'm thinking of maybe a grey. Originally I was thinking, so this is just like, that's all it is. It's just sand with some slate. Nothing too crazy. I'm not really into the pots of basing material that they have that Games Workshop sell. It's just not my, the crackle medium or whatever, it's not really my cup of tea. I just like, sand looks fine. Now I know sand isn't to scale to miniatures, it looks like they're running in gravel, but that doesn't really bother me to be interested. You know what I mean? To be honest, I'm not interested in that sort of, we're not scale miniature painters. If I wanted the sand to be in scale with them, I would have got into scale miniatures and been into counting rivets and making sure it's all perfect. They're orcs in space. I think the sand is the least of my worries, but I know some people are a bit picky like that. I just don't see the point. Or guys, I've seen where guys raise the orcs up off the base. So say that was the base, because your foot is on the base and then the sand is glued around, it looks like you're sinking into it. So some people will actually put a sliver of plastic card. So say this was his foot. Some people will put a sliver of plastic card to raise their feet, the feet of the miniatures, up so that it actually looks like they're standing on sand as opposed to sinking into it. But then again, that's another, it's like, mate, I have millions of orcs to be painting, and to be quite honest with you, going into as much effort as I have with this unit so far is probably too much. It's quantity over quality. I need to get that into my head. I need to get speed painting as the main priority, is getting basic colours on. So I think that's what I'll be doing. I should probably sit down, make a 2,000 point list, but then the problem I have is that'll probably change when the codex come out. So I don't know. If this unit is shooter boys, I'll muck around with a battle wagon or something next. I don't know, something. I'm trying to think of what units I always do. I could do looters, but then that's more orc boys just with weapons. To see the predicament I have, it's like, I'm getting sick of painted orc boys, but I need to paint more orc boys. Oh, why don't you paint some specialist units? Well, they're pretty much orc boys, just with either big guns for looters, or rocket packs for stone boys, or commandos are pretty much orc boys with extra gear. You know what I mean? That's the good thing about orcs, is if you have the creativity, you could make any of the specialist units just out of the standard orc kit. So if you don't want to buy a unit of looters, you could just get weapons from other factions and use them as your looters. And commandos are easy to make. Just get some plastic card and put silencers on their sluggers. Green stuff a beret on or whatever. Give them a backpack. Sorted. Done and dusted. Right. So I think I've rambled on enough for this stream. So we'll leave it at there. I want to say thanks to Steve O for popping by and asking a few questions. It was fun. And we'll see if we can stop the stream. So if you're not subscribed, feel free to subscribe. And hopefully I'll actually get some miniatures painted as opposed to ramble on. And I think I painted like